Everything you have been told about anxiety is a lie, not a comforting lie, not even a well-meaning lie, just a lie that keeps you trapped in a cycle that makes other people rich and keeps you broken. They told you anxiety is a feeling. They told you it is stress. They told you it is all in your head. And technically, that last part is true, but not in the way they meant it. Anxiety is not a feeling. It is a system failure. It is your biological machinery misfiring because it is trying to run software designed for the African savanna on hardware surrounded by screens, deadlines, and a world that never stops demanding your attention. Your brain is not broken. Your brain is doing exactly what evolution programmed it to do. The problem is that evolution did not prepare you for the world you are living in right now. Let me show you something that will change how you see every panic attack, every racing thought, every night you spent staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, wondering why you cannot just be normal. There is a structure deep in your brain called the amygdala, 2 almond-shaped clusters of neurons sitting right behind your eyes. This is not the part of your brain that thinks. This is the part that reacts. And it has one job: detect threats and activate your survival system before the thinking part of your brain even knows what is happening. Here is the problem. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a lion and an email from your boss. It cannot distinguish between a physical threat and a social threat. It cannot separate real danger from imagined danger. To your amygdala, they are all the same thing. Threat detected. Activate emergency protocols. Flood the system with cortisol and adrenaline. Shut down non-essential functions. Prepare for fight or flight. This system kept your ancestors alive. When a predator appeared on the savannah, the humans who stopped to think about it got eaten. The humans who felt their heart rate spike, their muscles tense, their vision narrow, and their body prepare to run or fight, those humans survived. And you are descended from them. You inherited their survival system. The same system that saved their lives 10,000 times is now destroying yours, because in the modern world, the threats never stop. Your amygdala does not care that you are safe in your apartment. It does not care that no one is trying to kill you. It registers your bank account balance as a threat. It registers your social media notifications as threats. It registers your upcoming presentation, your relationship problems, your career uncertainty, your aging parents, your own mortality. All of it gets processed as danger. And because these threats never go away, your emergency system never shuts off. This is what anxiety actually is. It is not a personality flaw. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a biological system designed for short-term crisis management, being forced to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for years. And just like any system pushed beyond its design limits, it starts to break down. Let me walk you through what is actually happening in your body when you experience what you call anxiety. Your hypothalamus, a structure about the size of an almond sitting at the base of your brain, detects a threat signal from your amygdala. It immediately activates your HPA axis. That stands for hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. But what matters is this: it is the biological cascade that floods your bloodstream with stress hormones. First comes the adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes, your blood pressure increases, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, your muscles tense, your pupils dilate, your digestive system shuts down, blood flow redirects from your organs to your muscles. Your liver dumps glucose into your bloodstream to give you energy to run. All of this happens in milliseconds, long before you consciously recognize what you are feeling. Then comes the cortisol. This is the long-acting stress hormone. While adrenaline is the sprint, cortisol is the marathon. It keeps your body in a state of high alert. It suppresses your immune system because fighting infections is not a priority when you are supposedly running from a predator. It interferes with your sleep because survival does not happen during rest. It disrupts your memory formation because detailed memories are not useful in a life or death situation. It increases your appetite for high-calorie foods because stress used to mean you were burning massive amounts of energy and needed to replenish. This is why chronic anxiety makes you sick. This is why you cannot sleep. This is why you cannot remember simple things. This is why you crave sugar and carbs even though you are not physically active. Your body thinks it is in a survival situation. It is doing exactly what it should do during a survival situation. The fact that you are actually sitting in a chair staring at a computer screen does not change the biology. Now here is where it gets worse. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, planning, and emotional regulation, starts to shut down under chronic stress. Because in a true emergency, thinking is slow, reaction is fast. Your brain literally reduces activity in the CEO of your brain and hands control over to the primitive survival systems. This is why anxiety makes you feel stupid. This is why you cannot think clearly when you are panicking. This is why you make terrible decisions when you are stressed. The part of your brain capable of making good decisions is being chemically suppressed by the part of your brain trying to keep you alive. And because your rational brain is offline, you cannot reality test your fears. You cannot talk yourself down. You cannot use logic to convince yourself that everything is fine. Because the part of your brain that understands logic is not in charge anymore. The amygdala is running the show. And the amygdala does not do logic. It does survival. This creates a vicious cycle. Your amygdala detects a threat and activates your stress response. Your stress response suppresses your prefrontal cortex. With your prefrontal cortex suppressed, you cannot regulate your emotional response or evaluate whether the threat is real. Without that regulation, your amygdala stays activated. The stress response continues. The cycle reinforces itself. This is why anxiety feels like it has a life of its own. Because in a very real biological sense, it does. Let me pause here for a second and ask you a question that maybe no one has ever asked you. What is the worst part of living with this internal struggle? Not what you tell people, but the part you carry in silence. I want you to know something. What you are feeling is more common than you imagine. Thousands of people are watching this video right now carrying exactly the same weight. If you have the courage, leave a comment telling me what is the hardest part for you. Your honesty might make someone else feel less alone today. Now let me continue showing you how to break this pattern. Understanding the biology is not enough. You need to understand why your particular brain became vulnerable to this system failure. Because not everyone develops chronic anxiety. Some people have the same biological machinery, face the same modern stressors, and their systems stay regulated. So what is different? The answer is in your early development. Your stress response system was calibrated during childhood. If you grew up in an environment where threats were unpredictable, where emotional safety was inconsistent, where you had to be hypervigilant to survive your own family, your amygdala was trained to be oversensitive. It learned that the world is dangerous and that missing a threat is more costly than having a false alarm. So it became better to panic at shadows than to miss a real danger. Robert Sapolsky, a neuroscientist at Stanford who has spent his career studying stress, describes this as a difference in your stress thermostat. Some people have thermostats set at 70 degrees. Their systems activate when there is a real threat and shut down when the threat passes. Other people have thermostats set at 50 degrees. Their systems activate at much lower levels of threat and stay activated much longer. This is not a choice. This is not a mindset problem. This is hardware calibration that happened before you had any control over it. But here is what they do not tell you in therapy. Here is what the self-help books leave out. That calibration is not permanent. Your brain is plastic. That means it can be rewired. The pathways that keep your amygdala hypersensitive can be weakened. New pathways that strengthen your prefrontal cortex can be built. The system can be recalibrated, but it does not happen through understanding. It does not happen through talking. It happens through targeted, consistent interventions that change the actual biology. This is where most people fail. They treat anxiety like a psychological problem that needs a psychological solution. They try to think their way out of a biological crisis. They go to therapy and talk about their feelings and try to understand why they are anxious. And they wonder why it does not work. It does not work because you are bringing a psychological tool to a biological fight. You cannot think your way out of a system failure any more than you can think your way out of diabetes. What you need is biological intervention. You need to change the chemistry. You need to change the neural pathways. You need to give your prefrontal cortex the conditions it needs to come back online and take control away from your amygdala. And there are specific protocols that do this. Not someday, not eventually. within weeks, if you are consistent. First, you need to understand the role of chronic inflammation in anxiety. Your immune system and your nervous system are not separate. They communicate constantly. When your immune system detects a threat, it releases inflammatory cytokines. These are signaling molecules that tell your brain you are under attack. Your brain responds by activating your stress response, because in evolutionary terms, infection was a major threat. If you were sick, you were vulnerable to predators, so your brain learned to treat inflammation as danger. The problem is that modern life is chronically inflammatory. The food you eat is inflammatory. The lack of sleep is inflammatory. The sedentary lifestyle is inflammatory. The constant stress is inflammatory. Your immune system is constantly signaling threat, and your brain is constantly responding with anxiety. This is not a metaphor. Elevated inflammatory markers like IL-6 and CRP are directly correlated with anxiety and panic disorders. When researchers give healthy people endotoxins that trigger inflammation, they develop anxiety symptoms within hours. So the first intervention is anti-inflammatory. You cannot rewire your anxiety system while your body is screaming that you are under attack. This means eliminating processed foods, especially seed oils and refined carbohydrates that spike your blood sugar and trigger inflammatory responses. This means getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, because sleep deprivation is one of the most inflammatory things you can do to your body. This means moving your body every day, because exercise is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory interventions available. I know this sounds basic. I know you have heard this before, but most people do not do it because they think of it as general wellness advice. They do not understand that this is emergency medicine. Your brain is on fire. These interventions put out the fire. Without them, nothing else works. Second, you need to restore your autonomic balance. Your nervous system has two modes: sympathetic, which is your gas pedal, your fight or flight activation, and parasympathetic, which is your brake, your rest and digest recovery. In chronic anxiety, your sympathetic system is stuck on. Your body is constantly preparing for action. Your heart rate is elevated. Your breathing is shallow. Your muscles are tense. Your brake is broken. The fastest way to activate your parasympathetic system is through your vagus nerve. This is a massive nerve that runs from your brainstem down through your chest and into your abdomen. It controls your heart rate, your digestion, your inflammation levels, and you can stimulate it directly through specific techniques. Cold exposure is the most powerful vagal stimulator. When you expose your face to cold water, it triggers something called the diving reflex. Your heart rate drops, your breathing slows, your parasympathetic system activates. This is not a gradual effect. This is immediate. 30 seconds of cold water on your face can abort a panic attack in progress because it forces your biology into a different state. Start with cold showers. Just 30 seconds at the end of your regular shower. Breathe slowly. Do not fight it. Let the cold do its work. After a week, try 2 minutes. Your tolerance will build. Your vagal tone will improve. Your baseline anxiety will decrease. This is not about toughness. This is about biology. You are manually activating the system that is supposed to calm you down. Breathing is the other direct access point to your autonomic system. Your breath is the only part of your autonomic nervous system you can consciously control, and your breathing pattern directly affects your stress response. When you are anxious, your breathing becomes rapid and shallow, upper chest breathing. This activates your sympathetic system. It tells your brain that you are in danger. It perpetuates the cycle. You need to retrain your breathing, not when you are panicking. Every day, multiple times per day. Diaphragmatic breathing. Slow inhales through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Slow exhales through your mouth for 6 counts. The exhale needs to be longer than the inhale because the exhale activates your parasympathetic system. Do this for 5 minutes, 3 times a day. Do it when you are calm. Your brain needs to learn that this is your default pattern, not something you only do during a crisis. After 2 weeks of this practice, your resting heart rate will drop. Your heart rate variability will improve. These are direct measures of autonomic balance. Your body is learning to spend more time in recovery mode. Your stress thermostat is being adjusted. Third, you need to recalibrate your threat detection system. Your amygdala learned to overreact. You need to teach it to discriminate again. This is not about positive thinking. This is about exposure. Your amygdala learns through experience, not through reasoning. It needs to learn that the things it is treating as threats are not actually dangerous. This is where most people misunderstand exposure. Therapy. They think the goal is to prove that their fears are irrational. That is not the goal. Your amygdala does not care about rationality. The goal is to habituate, to teach your amygdala that it can encounter a stimulus, activate a stress response, and nothing bad happens. Over time, with repeated exposure, the stress response weakens. The amygdala learns to stop reacting. But you need to do this systematically. You need to identify your specific triggers. Make a list of situations that cause anxiety ranked from least to most threatening. Start with the easiest. Deliberately expose yourself to it. Stay in the situation even though your body is telling you to escape. Your heart will race. Your thoughts will spiral. Your body will scream at you to leave. Do not leave. Breathe slowly. Wait. The panic will peak within 10 minutes, and then it will start to decrease. This is called extinction learning. Your amygdala is learning that this stimulus does not predict danger. Do this repeatedly with the same trigger until your anxiety response drops below 50% of the initial intensity. Then move to the next trigger on your list. This is slow work. This is uncomfortable work, but this is how you rewire the hardware. There are no shortcuts. Your amygdala needs direct evidence that the world is safer than it believes. Fourth, you need to rebuild your prefrontal cortex function. Remember, chronic stress weakens your rational brain. You need to strengthen it. And the way you strengthen neural pathways is through use. You need to deliberately practice using your prefrontal cortex even when your amygdala is activated. Cognitive restructuring is not about positive affirmations. It is about reality testing. When you notice anxious thoughts, write them down. Then examine them like you are a scientist evaluating data. What is the evidence for this thought? What is the evidence against it? What would I tell a friend who had this thought? Am I responding to what is actually happening or to what I fear might happen? This practice does something critical. It activates your prefrontal cortex. It forces the rational part of your brain to engage even while the emotional part is freaking out. Over time, with consistent practice, your prefrontal cortex gets stronger. It stays online longer during stress. It regains the ability to regulate your emotional responses. The balance of power shifts back from your amygdala to your CEO, but here is what you need to understand. This is not a quick fix. Rewiring your brain takes time. Sapolsky talks about neuroplasticity as a process measured in weeks and months, not days. You need to be consistent. You need to do these interventions every single day, even when you do not feel like it, especially when you do not feel like it, because your brain is going to resist. Your amygdala is going to tell you that you are wasting your time, that nothing will help, that you should just give up. That is not wisdom. That is the system. Failure trying to maintain itself. The Stoics understood something important about this process. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But he was not talking about magical thinking. He was talking about what you can actually control in the face of a reality you cannot change. You cannot control whether your amygdala fires. You cannot control your first fear response, but you can control what you do next. You can control whether you breathe or hyperventilate. You can control whether you stay or run. You can control whether you practice these interventions or give up. Seneca wrote about how the mind that is anxious about future events is miserable, but he also wrote about how we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Your amygdala is making you suffer in imagination. It is running simulations of threats that have not happened and may never happen, and you are treating those simulations as reality. The Stoics practiced distinguishing between what is actually happening and what they feared might happen. This is not optimism. This is reality testing. This is your prefrontal cortex fighting back against your amygdala. Here is something else the Stoics understood. Discomfort is not the same as danger. Your anxiety system conflates the two. When you feel anxious, your body is screaming danger, but feeling uncomfortable does not mean you are in danger. The cold shower is uncomfortable. The exposure exercise is uncomfortable. The reality testing is uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a sign to stop. That discomfort is the sensation of your brain changing. That is the feeling of rewiring. Modern culture has taught you to avoid discomfort at all costs, to seek comfort, to seek ease, to seek pleasure. And every time you avoid something because it makes you anxious, you train your amygdala that the threat was real. You reinforce the system failure. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort specifically to build resilience. They knew that a life spent avoiding pain is a life lived in service to fear. This is not about becoming some kind of anxiety warrior. This is about reclaiming your agency from a biological system that is malfunctioning. Your anxiety is not your identity. It is not your fate. It is a set of biological processes that went wrong and can be corrected. But correction requires intervention. It requires work. It requires you to do things that feel counterintuitive because your intuition is coming from the same system that is broken. Let me give you a framework for thinking about this. Imagine your brain as a city. Your prefrontal cortex is the city planning department. Your amygdala is the alarm system. In a healthy city, when the alarm goes off, the planning department evaluates the threat and decides how to respond. They work together. In chronic anxiety, the alarm system is broken. It goes off constantly. And because it is always going off, the planning department shut down. They got tired of responding to false alarms. Now the alarm runs the city. Every decision is made from a place of panic. Nothing gets built. Nothing gets planned. The whole city is in permanent emergency mode. The interventions I am describing are about bringing the planning department back online. You are not trying to shut off the alarm system. That would be dangerous. You need your alarm system, but you need it to be accurate. You need it to respond to real threats, not imagined ones. And you need your planning department to be strong enough to evaluate threats and make rational decisions even when the alarm is ringing. This is hard work. It requires consistency that most people do not have because they are looking for the thing that makes anxiety go away immediately. They want the pill, the technique, the insight that fixes everything. That does not exist. What exists is a process of slowly, systematically retraining your biological systems to respond to the world as it actually is, instead of as your evolutionary programming fears it might be. And here is what they do not tell you about this process. It is not linear. You will have good weeks and bad weeks. You will have days where you feel like you are making progress, and days where you feel like you are back at the beginning. That is normal. That is how neuroplasticity works. Your brain is not a light switch. It is a complex adaptive system that changes through repetition over time. Setbacks are not failures. Setbacks are data. They show you what your brain needs more practice with. The question is not whether you will feel anxious again. You will. The question is what you do when anxiety shows up. Do you collapse into it? Do you let it run your decisions? Do you avoid everything that triggers it? Or do you recognize it for what it is, a system failure, and implement the protocols that recalibrate the system? This is where the rubber meets the road. Everything I have described works. The research is clear. Cold exposure, breathing training, systematic exposure, cognitive restructuring, anti-inflammatory interventions. All of these things measurably change brain function and reduce anxiety, but they only work if you do them. And most people do not do them because they are hard and uncomfortable and require discipline. Discipline, there is that word. The one that makes people uncomfortable because they think it means being harsh with themselves. But discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is the difference between being controlled by your biology and controlling your biology. The word comes from the Latin disciplina, which means teaching, learning, instruction. Discipline is teaching your brain a different way. Your brain is not fixed. Your anxiety is not permanent. You are not broken beyond repair. You are a biological system that developed adaptive responses to an environment that no longer exists. Those responses are creating suffering in your current environment. And because your brain is plastic, because neural pathways can be weakened and strengthened and rerouted, you have the ability to change this. Not through understanding, not through insight, through action, through consistent targeted interventions that change the underlying biology. If you made it this far, I already know something important about you. You do not just want to survive your own mind, you want to master it. This channel is not about magic promises. It is about real people sharing real tools that work in the real world. If this makes sense to you, subscribe to the channel. Not because I am asking, but because you deserve a place where you can learn to build the version of yourself you always knew was in there. Biology is destiny until you hack it.